Modern life often feels like a storm of notifications, demands, and unexpected challenges. Yet deep down, there is a universal desire for a quieter mind, a steadier hand. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He reminds us that our peace does not depend on the chaos around us, but on the quality of our thinking within. This is the core promise of Stoicism, not as a dusty philosophy, but as a living toolkit for resilience. Today, we are exploring 25 specific Stoic practices designed to strengthen calm thinking in daily life. You will walk away with concrete methods to transform pressure into poise and obstacles into opportunities. These are not abstract ideas. They are grouped into practical themes for mastering your perception, directing your actions wisely, and cultivating a deep acceptance of what you cannot change. How will your mind change when you start treating every irritation as a training exercise? How do you typically start your day? For many, it begins with a rush, a scramble to check notifications, and a mind already braced for whatever fires need putting out. But the Stoics proposed a radically different first act, one that sets the tone for everything that follows. They called it Premeditatio Malorum, which translates to the premeditation of troubles. Now, this sounds grim at first glance, but it is not about dwelling on doom. It is a psychological exercise in preparedness. The philosopher Seneca wrote in his letters that we should anticipate future troubles to arm the mind against them. By thinking through what could go wrong, we are not inviting misfortune. We are vaccinating ourselves against the shock of it. The goal is to remove the sting of surprise, so when a challenge arises, it feels familiar, even expected. Your emotional reaction is then muted, and your capacity for calm, clear thinking is preserved. Think of it like this. Imagine you have a difficult conversation scheduled for later today. Instead of dreading it all morning, you take 5 quiet minutes to mentally walk through it. You visualize the other person perhaps becoming frustrated. You hear their critical words, and you decide in advance how you will respond. You might plan to listen fully, to pause before speaking, to focus on the core issue rather than the tone. By doing this, you are not creating anxiety. You are dismantling its power. The event loses its ability to ambush you emotionally. When you walk into that room, it feels less like walking into an unknown battlefield and more like stepping onto a stage where you know your lines. The same practice applies to a hectic commute, a daunting project deadline, or even a social gathering that feels taxing. The practice is not about predicting the future perfectly. It is about fortifying your mind against the inevitable friction of life. So here is a simple invitation. Before your day fully begins, identify one predictable challenge you will likely face. It does not have to be monumental. It could be a long queue at the coffee shop, a tense weekly meeting, or a household chore you always put off. Now, take a moment to mentally rehearse it. See the situation unfold in your mind. Notice where your frustration usually control. My effort, my attitude, my interpretation, my response. What is outside my control? The weather, the past, other people's choices, traffic, market fluctuations, the tone of an email I receive. The anxiety we feel so often is a direct result of spending our precious mental energy trying to control what is in that second category. We fret over a comment someone made, trying to control their opinion. We rage against a delayed flight, trying to control the mechanics of an airplane. This is where our calm evaporates. The peace, then, comes from a deliberate redirect of that energy. You stop trying to command the wind and instead learn to adjust your sails. Consider a common modern stressor, receiving harsh critical feedback at work. Your initial reaction might be defensive, hurt, or angry. Now apply the filter. what is outside your control, the feedback itself, the person's tone, their specific choice of words, their mood that day, the fact they sent it. What is within your control? Your decision to listen fully before reacting. Your choice to look for any useful kernel of truth within the criticism, however poorly packaged. Your ability to craft a measured, professional response, or to decide you need time to reflect before replying at all. Your commitment to your own growth, regardless of the source. Instantly, the overwhelming problem shrinks to a manageable set of actions. The emotional storm is quieted because you have a map. The traffic jam is no longer a personal affront, it is a condition of the road. Your only domain is how you use that time, perhaps with an audiobook or a moment of quiet. Here is a practical exercise you can do right now. Take a current worry, anyone that feels sticky in your mind. Now get a piece of paper or open a note on your phone. Draw a line down the center, on the left, right, within my control, on the right, right, outside my control. Now dissect that worry, place each element into its proper column. The outcome of a medical test goes on the right. Your commitment to following your doctor's advice and maintaining a positive mindset goes on the left. A family member's life choices go on the right. How you choose to communicate your care and set your own boundaries goes on the left. This act of writing is not passive. It is an act of reclamation. You are visually taking back your agency from the chaos of the world and placing it squarely where it has always belonged, in your own hands. What if you could pause the story your mind instantly creates about a situation? That split-second narrative, where a terse email means disrespect or a cancelled plan feels like rejection, is where so much of our inner turmoil begins. The Stoics developed a powerful countermeasure for this, a practice we can call cognitive distancing. It is the deliberate act of creating mental space between an event and your automatic judgment of it. Imagine your initial, raw impression of a situation as a spark. Cognitive distancing is the moment you choose not to fan that spark into a raging fire of emotion. Instead, you step back and observe the spark itself, questioning its source and its truth. This is the core of the Stoic idea of withholding assent. As Epictetus taught, we are not disturbed by events, but by the judgments we make about them. We have the power, however difficult, to pause before we give our agreement to that first, often flawed, interpretation. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully in his Meditations, writing, "Remove the judgment, and you have removed the thought, I am hurt." Remove the thought, I am hurt, and the hurt itself is removed. The complaint, the emotional sting, vanishes when you detach from the initial opinion. Think of it as the mental mechanism that prevents you from being hijacked by a passing feeling. It is not about suppressing emotion, but about inserting a moment of clarity between the stimulus and your response. In that space, your calm thinking has room to operate. Consider a practical, everyday application. You receive a brief, seemingly cold email from a colleague that simply says, "We need to talk about your report." No greeting, no pleasantries. The instant story your mind might create is one of criticism, impending conflict, or personal failure. Your heart rate jumps. But cognitive distancing invites you to pause that narrative. You look at the bare, objective facts. Fact, you received a text-based communication. Fact, it contains a request for a conversation. Fact, the tone is businesslike. That is all you truly know. Everything else, the story about their anger or your inadequacy, is an addition you have chosen to layer on top. By describing the event in purely factual terms, you drain it of its emotional charge. The request for a talk becomes just that, a request for a talk, not a verdict on your worth. Here is a simple exercise to try. Recall a recent minor irritation. Maybe someone cutting in front of you in line or a friend being late to meet you. Now practice describing that event out loud or in writing using only objective, observable facts. Avoid all interpretive language. Instead of saying, "They were so rude and disrespectful," you would say, a person moved from the back of the line to a position ahead of me. Instead of, they don't value my time, you would say, the agreed meeting time was 3 o'clock and they arrived at 3:15. Do you feel the subtle shift? The emotional heat dissipates. You are no longer a victim of a story, you are an observer of facts. This creates the neutral ground from which you can then choose a thoughtful, rather than a reactive, response. That space is where your calm is forged. Imagine zooming out from your current situation, like a camera pulling back to a satellite view. The room you are in becomes a building, the building a street, the street a city, until the entire planet is a pale blue dot hanging in the vast, silent blackness of space. This is the essence of the Stoic practice known as the view from above. It is a contemplative exercise designed to recalibrate your sense of scale, shrinking personal anxieties by placing them against the immense backdrop of time, space, and human history. When you feel overwhelmed by a problem, this mental shift can be a profound source of calm. Marcus Aurelius used this technique constantly to maintain his equanimity amidst the crushing pressures of ruling an empire. He would remind himself to frequently take this view of human life, to see it in its totality as a brief and fleeting moment. He wrote of contemplating the city of the world, seeing not just his own palace but all the homes, markets, and farms, and realizing how many people have come before, lived their lives with their own urgent dramas, and then passed on. This perspective does not belittle your experience. Instead, it contextualizes it. It fosters a gentle humility and a deep sense of connectedness. You realize your current stress, while real to you, is one thread in an endless tapestry. The frustration of a delayed project, the sting of a social slight, the worry over a minor mistake when viewed from this cosmic distance, often lose their sharp personal edges. They become simply part of the human condition, shared by countless others across centuries. To apply this, take a specific stressor you are facing right now. Perhaps it is a tense disagreement with a coworker. Now, deliberately pull your mental camera back. Ask yourself, how much will this conflict matter in 1 month? In 1 year, will anyone even remember the specific words exchanged? Then pull back further. Consider all the other people in your city, your country, the world, who are navigating their own challenges at this very moment. Your problem is real, but it is not the only story being written today. Finally, pull back to the scale Marcus Aurelius loved, to the sweep of history. Think of all the leaders, artists, parents, and workers who faced what felt like insurmountable obstacles in their time. Their urgent crises are now quiet history. This is not meant to make you feel insignificant, but to grant you the freedom of proportion. It allows you to hold your problem more lightly, to see it as a passing weather pattern in the long climate of your life. So the next time a problem feels all-consuming, try this simple exercise. Close your eyes for just 30 seconds. Visualize your concern as a small, specific point. Then watch as your awareness expands upward and outward, seeing the room, the neighborhood, the continent, the globe spinning in space. When you return to that original point, notice if it feels quite as heavy. You may find that what remains is not the weight of the problem itself, but simply the clarity to address it with a calmer, more grounded mind. The Stoics practiced falling in love with their fate, especially the difficult parts. This is the profound and often misunderstood practice of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase meaning love of one's fate. It is the ultimate expression of Stoic acceptance, taken to its most creative and empowering conclusion. This is not passive resignation, a gritting of teeth while you endure hardship. It is an active, enthusiastic embrace of reality exactly as it unfolds, including every obstacle, setback, and piece of friction. The philosopher Epictetus framed this as a core discipline, teaching that every hindrance to action can become an opportunity for a different kind of action. The obstacle itself, he implied, is not the end of your path, it is the material for a new one. Marcus Aurelius echoed this, writing in his Meditations that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This mindset transforms your relationship with life itself. You stop seeing the universe as something that happens to you and start seeing yourself as a co-creator with it, using every single event, good or bad, as fuel for your development. Centuries later, the thinker Friedrich Nietzsche would adopt this exact Stoic idea, declaring that his formula for greatness was Amor Fati, the desire for nothing to be different, not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity. This love of fate is rooted in the Stoic principle of accepting nature's will, or the rational order of the cosmos. The belief is that everything that occurs is part of an interconnected web of cause and effect. To rail against a single thread is to reject the entire tapestry. Amor Fati is the choice to appreciate the pattern, even the dark threads, for their essential role in the whole. So how does this look in a modern, daily context? Consider a practical example. Imagine you worked diligently for a promotion, but it was given to a colleague. The initial reaction might be disappointment, even a sense of injustice. Passive acceptance might sound like, well, I guess it was not meant to be, and you carry a quiet resentment. Amor Fati is different. It asks you to actively seek the benefit. You might reflect, this outcome forces me to honestly evaluate my skills. It reveals a gap in my leadership experience I can now address. It frees me to explore opportunities outside this company I was too comfortable to consider. This missed promotion is not a closed door. It is a signpost pointing toward necessary growth you were avoiding. The same applies to a failed project. Instead of seeing only the loss, you can choose to love the fate of that failure for the clarity it provided. It taught you about a flawed assumption in your planning. It showed you which team members are truly resilient. It became a costly but invaluable lesson that will inform your next, more successful endeavor. The event itself does not change. Your energetic engagement with it transforms everything. Here is a reflective prompt to make this personal. Think of one recent setback, however small. It could be a plan that fell through, a mistake you made, or an unexpected inconvenience. Now, challenge yourself to brainstorm just one potential hidden benefit it offered. Did it build your patience? Did it reveal a true friend? Did it force a necessary rest you would not have taken? By searching for that single point of light within the difficulty, you are not pretending it was pleasant. You are practicing the alchemy of Amor Fati, turning leaden circumstances into golden insight. This is how you build a life where nothing is wasted, and every experience, especially the hard ones, becomes a teacher you learn to appreciate. When was the last time you chose discomfort? Not the kind forced upon you by circumstance, but a small, deliberate act of opting for the harder path when an easier one was readily available. This is the heart of the seventh Stoic practice, voluntary discomfort. It is a conscious training regimen for the soul, designed to build a specific kind of inner muscle, the muscle of resilience. The Stoic philosopher Seneca was a master of this. Despite his immense wealth and position as an advisor to the Emperor Nero, he would regularly set aside days to practice poverty. He would sleep on a hard bed, wear simple clothing, and eat only the plainest food. He even took cold baths. His purpose was never self-punishment but self-proof. He wrote that we should practice poverty so that we may know how to bear it. By voluntarily experiencing lack in a controlled, safe environment, you disarm its power to frighten you. You prove to yourself in a tangible way that your well-being is not dependent on perfect external conditions. You discover that you can endure and even thrive with far less than you think. This practice shrinks the shadow of future fear. If you have already chosen a cold shower, the broken water heater next winter becomes a minor inconvenience, not a crisis. If you have walked in the rain by choice, an unexpected downpour during your commute loses its ability to ruin your mood. It is a vaccination against the anxiety of potential hardship. The modern applications are simple and safe. It could be taking a cold shower for the final 30 seconds of your morning routine. It might be skipping a meal intentionally, not for dieting, but to sit with the sensation of hunger and realize it is temporary and manageable. It could be choosing to walk to the grocery store instead of driving, or spending an evening without any screens, simply sitting with a book or your own thoughts. The goal is not to inflict suffering, but to gently test your boundaries and expand your comfort zone. Each small act is a quiet declaration of independence from your own cravings and aversions. So here is a reflective prompt for you. In the coming week, plan one small, safe act of voluntary discomfort. It should be something minor enough that you will actually do it, but meaningful enough that you notice a shift in your mindset. Perhaps you leave your phone in another room for an hour, or you drink only water with a meal you usually enjoy with a sweet drink. As you do it, observe yourself. Notice the initial resistance and then the calm that often follows when you realize you are perfectly okay. This is not about deprivation. It is about discovering a deeper layer of freedom, the freedom that comes from knowing you are more resilient than your circumstances. Before you react, the Stoics advise a crucial moment of inner deliberation. This is the heart of the eighth practice, the discipline of assent. Think of your mind as a courtroom, and every initial impression that enters, every feeling or snap judgment, is like a witness taking the stand. The discipline of assent is the practice of being a careful, skeptical judge rather than a rubber stamp. You do not automatically accept the testimony as truth. You pause, you examine the evidence, and only then do you give your rational approval, or you withhold it. This moment of pause is where your true freedom lies. The philosopher Epictetus placed this discipline at the very center of a good life. He taught that the chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. The impression is the external thing that happens. Your assent, your inner yes or no, is the choice you control. When you feel a surge of anger because someone cut you off in traffic, that initial flash is the impression. The thought, that person is a terrible and disrespectful driver, is the judgment you are tempted to assent to. The discipline of assent is the space where you catch that thought and question it. Is it absolutely true? Do I know anything about that person's day or their state of mind? Could there be another explanation? By withholding your automatic agreement, you prevent a fleeting external event from dictating your internal state. You reclaim your sovereignty. Consider a common modern impression, the thought, this work problem is a complete disaster. That feeling of dread washes over you. The undisciplined mind assents immediately. It accepts the label disaster as fact, and your entire physiology follows, tightening with stress. The practiced Stoic, however, catches that label mid-air. They examine it. They might ask, what exactly makes this a disaster? Is the project ruined, or is it merely delayed? Have we lost all ability to solve it? Or are we just facing an unexpected hurdle? By dissecting the impression, you often find it is built on exaggeration and fear, not on reality. You might then choose a more accurate and empowering judgment. This is a significant challenge that will require focused effort and creative thinking. The event itself has not changed, but your relationship to it has transformed entirely. Your calm is preserved because you refuse to be swept away by the first wave of thought. Here is a simple way to practice this tomorrow. Choose to pay close attention to the very first negative impression that arises in your day. It might be the thought, I am tired, when your alarm goes off. Or this commute is going to be awful as you step out the door. Or my coworker is ignoring me when they do not immediately reply to your message. The moment you notice that impression, pause. Do not try to fight it or suppress it. Simply observe it as a mental event. Then, gently question it. Is this thought 100% true? what is a more neutral, factual way to describe this situation? By inserting this tiny moment of inquiry, you are not just managing your mood, you are training your mind in the most fundamental Stoic skill, the art of choosing your judgments, and in doing so, choosing your reality. Contrary to being morbid, remembering our mortality was a Stoic tool for vibrant living. This is the practice of Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. For the Stoics, this was not a dark obsession with an end, but a bright spotlight on the present. It is a meditation on impermanence designed to strip away trivial concerns and instill a profound sense of gratitude and focus. The aim is to live not with a paralyzing fear of the finish line, but with a clear-eyed appreciation for the race itself. This perspective stands in stark contrast to a culture that often avoids the topic. The Stoics invited it in as a wise counselor. Marcus Aurelius wrote frequently in his private journal to let each action, word, and thought be that of one who might depart this life at any moment. He was not suggesting a state of anxiety, but one of purposeful presence. If this day, this hour could be your last, how would its value change? You would likely not spend it fuming over a rude comment or refreshing a social media feed. You would probably choose to connect with someone you love, to engage in work that feels meaningful, or to simply sit quietly and appreciate the sky. Memento Mori sharpens your priorities by revealing their true scale against the backdrop of a limited life. It asks you to measure your daily irritations against the ultimate measure of time, and in that light, most of them simply evaporate. A practical way to weave this into your day is with a simple morning question. As you plan your hours, pause and ask yourself, what would I do differently today if I knew it was my last? The answer is rarely a dramatic bucket list item. More often, it reveals a subtle shift in attitude. You might choose patience over pettiness in a minor conflict. You might decide to truly listen during a conversation instead of waiting for your turn to speak. You might finally send that message of appreciation you have been putting off. The practice clarifies what is essential and grants you permission to let go of what is not. To make this reflection tangible, consider placing a subtle Memento Mori reminder in your environment. This is not a grim symbol, but a personal prompt for mindful living. It could be a specific stone on your desk, a particular tree you see on your daily walk, or even the simple turning of a page in a calendar. Let this object serve as a gentle, occasional nudge. When your eye catches it, let it bring you back to this question: am I spending this moment, this irreplaceable fragment of my life, on something that truly matters? In that return to awareness, you reclaim your time and your attention, living not as if you have endless days, but as if this one, right now, is a gift you are determined to use well. The Stoics saw themselves not as isolated individuals, but as limbs of a single body. This vision is captured in the principle of Sympatheia, a profound sense of cosmic interconnectedness. It is the rational understanding that we are all part of a shared, living community, bound together by the same universal reason. When you internalize this, it transforms your relationship with everyone around you, shifting feelings of alienation or irritation toward a sense of shared duty and natural compassion. You begin to see that an injury to one part of this greater body is, in a very real sense, an injury to the whole, and therefore to yourself. This perspective dissolves the illusion of separation that fuels so much personal conflict. Marcus Aurelius reflected deeply on this interconnected web, reminding himself constantly that we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is contrary to nature, and it is acting against one another to be resentful and to turn away. His meditations are filled with this call to recognize our shared nature and our common possession of a fragment of the divine logos or rational principle. This is not a sentimental feeling, but a factual observation about the structure of reality, which then informs an ethical imperative. How do you apply this when someone's actions grate against you? The next time a stranger is rude in a store or a colleague undermines you in a meeting, pause and invoke Sympatheia. Before your personal annoyance takes hold, consider this person as another limb of the same body. They too possess reason, however clouded by their own struggles, ignorance, or pain in that moment. They are acting from their own set of impressions, just as you are. This does not mean you condone poor behavior, but it changes the energy you bring to addressing it. Your response can come from a place of seeking to restore the health of the whole body, rather than from a place of personal vengeance or wounded pride. You might respond with calm clarity instead of reactive anger, seeking to understand rather than to condemn. This lens of shared humanity and common fallibility makes patience more accessible and judgment less sharp. Here is a reflective prompt to make this personal. Think of one person you currently find difficult or frustrating. Now, for just a moment, try to view them through the Stoic lens of Sympatheia. See them not as an antagonist in your private story, but as another human being shaped by their own history and hardships, striving in their own flawed way, and connected to you by the very fact of your shared existence. What might you understand about their actions that you previously overlooked? How does this shift in perspective alter your own sense of irritation? This practice builds a bridge where there was once a wall, fostering a calm that comes from belonging rather than from battling against the world. How do the Stoics pursue goals without being shattered by failure? They use a brilliant mental safeguard called the reserve clause. This is the practice of coupling your full effort with a quiet acceptance that the final outcome is not entirely yours to command. It is a formula for passionate engagement without desperate attachment. You commit to the action while reserving your inner peace for whatever result arrives. The Stoic philosopher Seneca captured this beautifully when he wrote about committing our plans to the general course of the world, while retaining a calm readiness for whatever may happen. He advised to aim your purpose at one mark but to prepare yourself for another. This is not about having low ambition or giving a half-hearted effort. In fact, it requires more courage. You are asked to give your absolute best, to prepare meticulously, to strive with all your skill, and then, at the very same time, to hold the result loosely. You are responsible for your choices, not for the universe's response to them. Think of it as the difference between a sailor and the wind. A skilled sailor adjusts every sail with precision, studies the charts, and steers with clear intent. Yet they know the wind is a force beyond their control. They do not rage against a calm or a storm. They work with what is given. Their goal is to navigate expertly, not to command the weather. The reserve clause is your way of being that expert sailor of your own endeavors. Consider a practical, modern application. You are preparing for a crucial job interview. The Stoic approach with the reserve clause means you do everything within your power. You research the company thoroughly, you practice your responses, you prepare thoughtful questions, you dress appropriately, and you arrive on time with a focused mind. You give it your complete and dedicated effort. Simultaneously, you mentally acknowledge the reserve clause. You remind yourself that the final hiring decision depends on factors outside your control, like the specific needs of the team, the chemistry with other candidates, or even the hiring manager's personal preferences on that particular day. Your peace is not contingent on getting a yes. It is anchored in knowing you performed with excellence according to your principles. This mental framing does two powerful things. First, it actually reduces performance anxiety, allowing you to be more present and authentic during the interview itself. Second, it completely defangs the potential for disappointment. If you get the offer, you celebrate the positive outcome. If you do not, you are not shattered because your sense of worth was never staked on that single result. You can reflect, learn, and move forward with your integrity and effort intact. So here is a reflective prompt to weave this practice into your life. Take a current goal you are actively pursuing. It could be a fitness target, a creative project, or a difficult conversation you need to have. Now, write down your intention using the reserve clause formula. Write, "I will do my best to," and then state your action followed by, "but I reserve acceptance for whatever outcome occurs." For example, "I will do my best to complete this project with creativity and diligence, but I reserve acceptance for whatever feedback or results follow." This simple act of writing marries your ambition to your equanimity, allowing you to strive freely without the heavy chains of expectation. What would the wisest, most virtuous version of you do in this situation? This simple question is the engine of the 12th Stoic practice, the contemplation of the sage. It is a powerful mental model, a north star for navigating moral complexity and emotional turbulence. The Stoics spoke often of the sage, not as a historical figure to be found, but as an ideal, a perfect embodiment of wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. Think of the sage as a conceptual benchmark, a flawless mirror against which you can measure your own choices and impulses. No human being, not even the great Stoic teachers themselves, claimed to be a perfect sage. The philosopher Epictetus was clear about this, stating that the sage is as rare as the Ethiopian phoenix. Its value is not in its attainability, but in its utility. By externalizing our own highest potential into this imagined figure, we create a tool for gaining clarity. It allows us to step outside of our immediate, reactive self and consult a cooler, more principled perspective. When you are clouded by anger, fear, or desire, asking what the sage would do cuts through the noise. It is a way of accessing your own best judgment, which in that heated moment can feel just out of reach. The sage acts with unwavering integrity, not because they feel no emotion, but because their reason governs their response. They see the situation for what it is, not for what their fear or ego wishes it to be. They act for the common good with patience and understanding, even when provoked. This is not about pretending to be perfect. It is about using an ideal to pull your actions incrementally upward toward a more virtuous standard. So how do you apply this in a messy, real-world moment? Imagine you are in a team meeting and a colleague publicly takes credit for an idea you developed. Your immediate reaction might be a hot flush of betrayal, a desire to call them out on the spot. This is where you pause, and in that crucial space, you invoke the contemplation of the sage. You silently ask, "What would the wisest, most composed version of me do here?" The sage would recognize the injustice, but would not be ruled by wounded pride. They might choose to address the matter privately later with calm facts rather than public accusation. They would consider the colleague's possible motivations, perhaps insecurity or a simple lack of awareness, and respond in a way that corrects the record without destroying teamwork. The goal is not to be a pushover, but to be effective and virtuous. You are not suppressing your valid feeling, you are choosing a more skillful channel for it. The same model works for smaller, daily tests. When you are tempted to gossip, the sage commitment to justice and kindness asks you to hold your tongue. When you want to procrastinate on a difficult task, the sage's discipline of action encourages you to begin. It is a constant, gentle redirect toward your own ethical center. To make this personal, take a moment to define your own inner sage. What three core qualities would this ideal version of you embody? Perhaps it is unshakable calm, radical honesty, or compassionate courage. Write these three words down. Keep them somewhere you will see them, like a note on your phone or a sticky note on your desk. The next time you face a challenging decision or a surge of reactive emotion, glance at those words. Let them be the quiet counsel that guides you toward a response you can later respect, a step closer to the person you are capable of becoming. Try narrating your problem like a neutral scientist or a court reporter. This is the 13th practice, objective description, and it is a surgical tool for your mind. It asks you to strip away the loaded language, the dramatic narrative, and the emotional spin you instinctively add to events, and to report only the observable facts. The Stoic pursuit is to see things as they are in their naked reality, as Marcus Aurelius put it, not as our fears, hopes, or prejudices dress them up to be. He advised himself to constantly strip away the veneer of legend that encrusts an object to see the thing itself, brief and plain. When you describe a situation in purely objective terms, you are not denying your feelings about it. You are simply creating a clean slate of truth upon which you can then choose a rational response, rather than being compelled by a reaction to your own story. The emotional charge of any event is almost entirely contained in the value-laden labels we stick onto it. Words like disaster, unfair, horrible, or amazing are not facts. They are interpretations. Objective description is the process of removing those sticky labels to see what is actually underneath. It diffuses the charge because you are no longer arguing with a phantom of your own making. You are engaging with reality on its own terms. Consider a common internal complaint: "My boss is micromanaging me and hates my work." That statement is a story, full of assumptions about another person's internal state and intentions. It feels heavy and personal. Now apply objective description, strip it down to observable facts. You might arrive at, "My boss has requested detailed updates on my project 3 times this week. They suggested 2 revisions to my last report. They have scheduled a 15-minute check-in meeting for tomorrow." Do you feel the shift? The first statement creates a victim and a villain. The second presents a set of circumstances, neutral data points open to multiple interpretations. Perhaps your boss is under unusual pressure from their own superiors. Maybe the project has higher visibility than you realized. It could even be a clumsy attempt to show interest. The objective facts remain the same, but your emotional relationship to them is now calm enough to allow for problem solving instead of personal distress. This practice is incredibly powerful in conflicts. Instead of thinking, "My partner never listens to me," you would describe, "During our conversation last night about vacation plans, I made 3 suggestions, and each time they began talking about a different topic before I finished my sentence." This factual account gives you something concrete to address without the global accusation that shuts down dialogue. Your calm is preserved because you are dealing with specific behaviors, not attacking a character. So here is your reflective prompt. Take a current worry, any nagging concern on your mind. Now, challenge yourself to write 3 purely objective sentences about it. No adjectives that judge, no mind reading of others, no predictions of doom. Just the who, what, when, and where of the situation as a camera would record it. For example, instead of, "I am terrified this presentation will be a total failure," you might write, "I am scheduled to give a 20-minute presentation to 6 department heads on Friday at 2 p.m. The slide deck is currently 70% complete. I have not yet practiced the talk aloud. See how the monster shrinks. It becomes a list of manageable tasks, not a looming catastrophe." This act of writing is not passive observation. It is an active recalibration of your perception, training you to meet the world with clarity instead of commentary. And in that clear space, true calm thinking can finally take root. What if you started thanking life for its obstacles? This is the 14th Stoic practice, a form of gratitude that goes far beyond appreciating the good things. It is a deliberate thankfulness for the very challenges that test us, for the friction that sharpens our character. General gratitude is wonderful, but the Stoic version is a targeted discipline. It is about recognizing that the difficult person, the frustrating delay, the failed plan, is not an interruption to your peace, but the raw material for building it. These are the training grounds where virtues like patience, courage, and resilience are not just discussed but forged in real time. The philosopher Epictetus framed this with striking clarity. He taught that every person we meet is a trainer sent to exercise some virtue in us. The abrasive colleague trains your forbearance. The unreliable friend trains your understanding. The overwhelming workload trains your focus and endurance. From this perspective, the world is not a series of random annoyances, but a custom-designed gym for your soul. Your difficult circumstances are not mistakes in the universe's plan. They are the plan itself, the curriculum for your growth. This shifts your entire relationship with hardship. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you learn to ask, "What is this happening for me? What muscle is this situation asking me to flex?" The goal is not to pretend you enjoy the pain, but to appreciate the purpose behind it. You can dislike the feeling of lifting a heavy weight while still valuing the strength it builds. Stoic gratitude is about valuing the strength. So how do you cultivate this counterintuitive thankfulness? A practical daily practice is to identify just one difficulty from your day, and then articulate one specific virtue it allowed you to practice. It does not need to be a major crisis. It could be as simple as a long, slow-moving line at the post office. Instead of simmering with impatience, you pause and think, "This line is giving me the opportunity to practice calm acceptance. It is training my ability to be present when things are not moving at my preferred speed." Or perhaps a critical comment from a family member stung. Later, you might reflect, "That interaction challenged me to practice the virtue of listening without defensiveness. It exercised my capacity to separate useful feedback from harsh delivery." By naming the virtue, you transform the event from a personal nuisance into a purposeful exercise. You are no longer a passive victim of circumstance. You are an active student in the school of life. To make this personal, here is a reflective prompt. Think of one difficult person or situation from your recent past, something that genuinely bothered you. Now, mentally offer a quiet word of thanks to that challenge. Thank it not for the hurt, but for the strength it asked you to find. Perhaps you thank that stressful project deadline for revealing your own capacity for focused work under pressure. Maybe you thank that argument for teaching you something new about communication and your own boundaries. This is not about excusing poor behavior or celebrating suffering. It is about reclaiming your power by recognizing that every obstacle, in the Stoic view, comes with a hidden gift, the invitation to become a slightly stronger, wiser, more resilient version of yourself. In your next conversation, buy yourself a single second of silence. This is the 15th practice, the physical embodiment of calm thinking, a tactical pause between the spark of a feeling and the fuel of your words. It is the discipline of assent made visible in the real world, a breath of space where your higher reasoning can step in and gently take the wheel from your raw impulse. The Stoics were masters of measured speech, understanding that words once released cannot be called back. Seneca wrote extensively on anger, advising that the best cure is to delay, to grant a period of waiting before the emotion can gain its full force. He suggested that the first blows of anger are heavy, but if it waits, it will think again. That tiny gap, that deliberate hesitation, is where you think again. It is not about becoming slow or passive, but about becoming intentional. Your response becomes a choice, not a reflex. This pause can be as simple as taking one slow, deep breath before you speak. It can be the act of consciously feeling your feet on the floor. It might even be the silent repetition of a calming phrase, such as "choose your words." The mechanism does not matter as much as the consistent practice of creating that sliver of space. Consider a heated discussion where you feel your position is being unfairly attacked. The immediate impulse is to defend, to counterattack, to prove your point with rising volume and speed. But in that purchased second of silence, you give yourself a chance to hear not just the content of the other person's words, but the emotion behind them. You create an opening to ask a clarifying question instead of firing a retort. You might say, "Help me understand your concern here," rather than "You are completely wrong." The dynamic shifts from combat to collaboration because you intervened in the automatic chain reaction. The same practice applies to an irritating request that feels like an imposition. The pause prevents the sigh, the eye roll, the sharp tone of resentment. It allows you to frame a respectful counteroffer or to simply accept the task with grace, recognizing it as a minor duty rather than a personal offense. Even when receiving surprising or difficult news, that moment of silence grants you the dignity of a collected response, preventing a reaction you may later regret. Your calm becomes a gift you give to yourself and to everyone in the conversation. So here is your prompt for tomorrow. Choose one interaction, any conversation at all, and consciously practice inserting this single second of silence before you reply. It might be when your partner asks you a question as you walk in the door, or when a colleague makes a suggestion in a meeting. Notice the urge to jump in and then deliberately wait. Observe what happens in that quiet space. Do you find a better word? Does the emotional charge lessen? This is not about winning an argument, but about winning back your own poise, one breath and one response at a time. Complaining, the Stoics observed, is mostly a rehearsal of powerlessness. It is the audible sound of our focus stuck on what we cannot change, a repetitive story we tell ourselves and others that entrenches a sense of victimhood. Every complaint externalizes the source of our discontent, placing the cause and the cure firmly outside of ourselves. The Stoic shift is to see complaining not as harmless venting, but as an active choice that reinforces negative judgments and spreads a subtle poison of discontent, first within our own mind and then into our shared space. Marcus Aurelius offered a stern but vital perspective on this, writing in his Meditations that to feel anger or grief or fear is to desert one's post. For him, complaining was a form of abandoning our duty as a rational being, which is to meet events with clear-eyed analysis and purposeful action, not with passive lament. When we complain, we are essentially announcing that something in the external world has the authority to ruin our internal peace, and we are handing over that authority willingly. The alternative is not to pretend everything is fine, but to move swiftly from observation of a problem to a solution-oriented mindset, or to a silent, dignified acceptance of what truly cannot be altered. Consider the difference between two responses to a rainy day that ruins an outdoor plan. The complainer says, "This weather is terrible. It always ruins everything. I can't believe this is happening." This narrative is full of permanence and personal offense. The Stoic in practice observes the factual circumstance. It is raining. Our picnic cannot proceed outdoors. They then immediately pivot their focus to what is within their control. They might say, since we cannot control the rain, let's move the picnic indoors and create a cozy atmosphere, or let's reschedule for next week and use this time for a different project. The event is identical. The emotional and practical outcomes are worlds apart. One path cultivates frustration and stagnation. The other cultivates resilience and agency. A powerful way to practice this is to attempt a complaint fast. Choose a manageable period of time, perhaps one afternoon or a full day, and make a conscious commitment to eliminate all verbal complaints and gossip from your speech. This is not about suppressing your perceptions, but about transforming how you express them. When you feel the urge to complain, pause. Convert that complaint into either a neutral, factual statement or a constructive next step. Instead of gossiping, "Oh, she is so unreliable," you might simply state the fact needed for a work project. "I have not yet received her report," and then take the constructive step. "I will send a polite follow-up email this afternoon." This practice trains you to catch the automatic narrative of blame and redirect that energy towards something useful. It is astonishing how much mental space and calm is reclaimed when you stop feeding the habit of complaint. So here is a reflective prompt to make this tangible. For the next hour, as you go about your tasks or conversations, simply monitor your own speech. Do not judge yourself, just observe with gentle curiosity. How many times do you hear yourself complain about a circumstance or gossip about another person? You do not need to change anything in this hour, just notice the frequency and the triggers. That awareness alone is the first and most important step in reclaiming your voice from discontent and steering it toward the quiet power of constructive thought. The Stoics solved large problems the way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. This 17th practice is about directing your full attention and effort solely to the immediate, manageable task right in front of you. It is a deliberate refusal to be overwhelmed by the terrifying totality of a project or the fog of future worries. Your sphere of action, the only place your effort can ever actually be applied, is the here and now. The past is a memory, the future is an imagination, but this present moment is the only real ground beneath your feet. When you anchor yourself there, anxiety loses its grip because anxiety feeds on the unknown and the unmanageable. It thrives when you stare at the entire mountain you must climb. This practice teaches you to look only at the very next step and to take it with your complete presence. Seneca offered perfect guidance for this, writing that we must deal with today's troubles, not tomorrow's, for the future is uncertain. Today's troubles are enough. He was not advocating for short-sightedness, but for a tactical focus that prevents your mind from being scattered and paralyzed by phantom problems that have not yet arrived. Marcus Aurelius, in The Chaos of Ruling, constantly reminded himself to concentrate every minute on doing the job at hand with precise and genuine seriousness. His job was to govern an empire, a task of incomprehensible scale. His method was to treat each minute, each conversation, each decision as a self-contained unit of work to be done well. This narrow focus is what makes colossal achievements possible. Consider a daunting modern work project, perhaps a report that feels impossibly large. The thought of the finished document can freeze you before you even begin. The Stoic approach is to break the spell of the whole. You do not think about writing the report. You think only about the next action. You open a new document, you write a single heading, you find the first piece of data you need, you complete one paragraph. Each of these is a tiny, complete victory. Your effort is no longer scattered across the intimidating future. It is concentrated into a series of present, winnable moments. The same principle applies to cleaning a cluttered house. Looking at the entire mess creates despair, but focusing only on clearing off the kitchen counter, then only on washing the dishes in the sink, transforms an overwhelming chore into a sequence of simple, completable actions. Your calm is maintained because you are never engaging with the monster, only with its smallest, most manageable part. So here is your reflective prompt. Identify one goal or responsibility in your life that currently feels overwhelming. It could be a career transition, a fitness journey, or a complex personal conversation. Now set aside the entire intimidating picture. Ask yourself this single question: what is the very smallest, most concrete next action I can take? It must be so small it feels almost trivial. It is not plan the career change, it is update the first 3 lines of my resume. It is not get in shape, it is put on my walking shoes. It is not have the difficult talk, it is write down the one main point I want to communicate. Write that one tiny action down. This is your bite of the elephant. By committing to just that, you move from the paralysis of the abstract into the power and peace of the present, where all real progress is ever made. How much of your mental energy is spent worrying about what others think? This quiet preoccupation is a vast consumer of our peace, a constant background check on our social standing. The 18th Stoic practice directly addresses this drain by cultivating a healthy indifference to both external praise and criticism. This does not mean becoming cold, arrogant, or unfeeling. It is about shifting the source of your self-worth from the fluctuating opinions of others to the stable ground of your own internal virtue and alignment with your principles. For the Stoics, both lavish praise and harsh blame were classified as preferred and dispreferred indifference. This means they are external to your moral character, outside your complete control, and therefore should not be the anchors for your sense of self. They are like the weather, pleasant or unpleasant, but they do not define the integrity of the house you have built within. The philosopher Epictetus offered clear guidance on this, teaching that if anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said, but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." His point is profound. He is not advising you to dismiss all feedback, but to place it in its proper, limited context. The praise or blame of another person reveals more about their own perceptions and values than it does about your essential worth. To be elated by praise is to give another person power over your happiness. To be crushed by criticism is to hand them the keys to your despair. In both cases, you have outsourced your self-evaluation. This practice is not about ignoring constructive feedback that can help you improve a skill. It is about separating the useful data in the feedback from the emotional charge of someone's approval or disapproval. You can listen to a critical performance review to learn about your presentation skills without internalizing it as a verdict on your value as a human being. You can receive a compliment graciously without letting it inflate your ego or make you dependent on its repetition. Consider the modern arena of social media. A post receives many likes and positive comments. The Stoic practice reminds you that this external validation is fleeting and fickle. It feels good, but it is not nourishment for your character. Your virtue lies in why you posted. Was it to share something meaningful or to seek that very validation? Conversely, a post receives negative or dismissive comments. The practice asks you to examine the comments for any grain of useful insight, and then to release the rest, recognizing that these words come from strangers operating with minimal context. Your peace is not for sale at the price of their approval. In the workplace, a colleague casually praises your idea in a meeting. You can acknowledge it with thanks, but you do not let your entire motivation for future contributions hinge on receiving such praise again. Another colleague dismisses your suggestion. You can evaluate the merit of their counterargument without letting their dismissal make you hesitant to speak up next time. Your commitment is to contributing thoughtfully, not to winning a popularity contest. So here is a reflective prompt to make this personal. Recall a recent instance, however small, where you found yourself strongly seeking approval or deeply fearing criticism. Perhaps it was hesitating to share an unconventional idea or feeling a pang of disappointment when an accomplishment went unnoticed. Now, gently examine the underlying desire. What were you hoping that praise would confirm about you? What did you fear that criticism would expose? By bringing this quiet transaction into the light, you begin the work of recalibrating your compass, pointing it away from the noisy opinions of the crowd and toward the quiet, steady north of your own reasoned principles. When did more become the default setting for happiness? We are surrounded by a culture that equates accumulation with achievement, urging us to chase the next upgrade, the larger home, the fuller schedule. The 19th Stoic practice offers a radical alternative, the art of contentment with enough. This is not about settling for less, but about consciously defining the point where your genuine needs are met, freeing yourself from the exhausting anxiety of endless wanting. The Stoics drew a clear line between natural needs and vain desires. Natural needs are simple and few: food, shelter, community, purpose. Vain desires are the endless additions fueled by comparison and social pressure, the belief that a certain car, title, or lifestyle is essential for happiness. The tranquility they sought, ataraxia, was found not in acquiring more but in wanting less. Seneca, who lived amidst immense Roman luxury, wrote powerfully about this inner wealth. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. True riches, he argued, lie in limiting our desires, not in expanding our possessions. The teacher Musonius Rufus took this further, advocating for a life of deliberate simplicity. He taught that in terms of living quarters, clothing, and food, we should seek only what is necessary for life, not what serves luxury. For the Stoics, every desire beyond the essential was a potential leak in the boat of their peace, an opening for fortune to disturb them. A practical way to engage with this is to conduct a gentle audit of one area of your life. Look at your monthly subscriptions, the clutter in a closet, or the commitments filling your calendar. For each item, ask a simple question. Does this serve a true need, or is it merely a want I have habituated? The goal is not to purge everything enjoyable, but to distinguish between what adds genuine value and what simply occupies space out of inertia or the faint hope it might bring satisfaction later. This clarity is profoundly calming. When you know what enough looks like for you, the noise of advertising and social comparison fades into background static. Your energy is no longer siphoned by the pursuit of the next thing and can be redirected toward what you already have and what you truly value. So here is a reflective prompt to make this personal. Choose one domain of your life, perhaps your physical possessions, your weekly work hours, or your social calendar. Now take a quiet moment to define what enough looks like in that area. If it is possessions, enough might be a curated home where every item has use or meaning. If it is work, enough might be hours that allow for deep focus while preserving time for health and connection. Write down that definition. This act is not a restriction, it is a declaration of freedom, drawing a boundary around your contentment so it cannot be stolen by the endless chase for more. A traffic jam and a promotion are, in a Stoic sense, the same kind of event. This is the startling core of the 20th practice, the discipline of seeing events as neither inherently good nor bad. It challenges our most basic instinct to categorize every experience the moment it happens. The Stoics reserved the words good and bad strictly for our own choices, for virtue and vice. Everything else, every external circumstance from a lottery win to a serious illness, they classified as indifferent. Its ultimate value is not in the event itself, but in what we choose to do with it, in how we use it as raw material for exercising our character. The event is neutral. Our response is where morality and our peace is decided. There is a famous story of a Stoic philosopher who lost his home and all his possessions in a shipwreck. When asked what he had lost, he calmly replied, "I have lost nothing that belongs to me." His point was profound. His virtue, his reason, his capacity for choice, these were his true possessions, and they remained entirely intact. The external things were always on loan from fortune, never truly his to begin with. This perspective completely reframes our relationship with life's ups and downs. Take an event most would label good, like unexpectedly receiving a large sum of money. Our culture tells us this is an unqualified win. The Stoic asks a different question. How will you use this material? You could use it virtuously, with wisdom and justice, to secure your family's needs, support a cause you believe in, and invest in your education. Or you could use it viciously, fueling arrogance, indulgence, and creating new dependencies. The money itself is indifferent. Its moral quality is determined solely by your choices. Now take an event most would label bad, like losing a job. The immediate narrative is one of loss and crisis. The Stoic again asks, how will you use this material? You could use it to practice courage by facing the uncertainty head-on. You could use it to practice wisdom by honestly evaluating your career path. You could use it to practice temperance by managing your resources carefully. Or you could use it viciously, sinking into despair, blaming others, and making fear-based decisions. The job loss itself is indifferent. It is a circumstance. The story of good or bad is written entirely by your subsequent actions. This practice is the ultimate mental liberation. It means you are never truly at the mercy of an event, only at the mercy of your own judgment of it. When you stop labeling the traffic jam as bad, you remove its power to ruin your morning. It becomes simply a condition of the road, and your domain is how you use that time, perhaps with patience or an interesting podcast. When you stop labeling the promotion as unequivocally good, you protect yourself from the anxiety of having something new to lose. It becomes an opportunity to practice humility and greater responsibility. So here is a reflective prompt to make this personal. Think of one recent event you instinctively labeled as bad. It could be a minor inconvenience or a more significant setback. Now, set that label aside. Look at the event as a Stoic would, as neutral material. Brainstorm one specific way this circumstance could be used as raw material for practicing a virtue. Could it be used to practice patience? Could it be used to practice resilience? Could it reveal a hidden opportunity for growth you were previously blind to? By engaging in this mental exercise, you are not denying difficulty. You are performing the most empowering act possible. You are taking the pen back from circumstance and beginning to write the story yourself. The Stoics knew that a turbulent mind often lives in a tense body. This 21st practice, physical anchoring, turns that connection into a tool. While ancient texts do not detail breathing exercises, the entire Stoic ideal of composure implies a calm exterior. A slumped posture, shallow breath, and clenched jaw are not just symptoms of inner turmoil. They actively feed it, creating a feedback loop of anxiety. The reverse is also true. By consciously adopting a posture of stability and ease, you can send a powerful signal back to your nervous system that there is no immediate threat, that you are grounded and in control of your response. Your body becomes an anchor for your mind, pulling it back from the storm of reactive emotion. This is about using your physical form to cultivate the inner stillness the Stoics prized. A simple, immediate application is to notice your posture the next time you feel stressed or challenged. Are your shoulders creeping up toward your ears? Is your breath held high in your chest? The act of consciously rolling your shoulders back, planting your feet flat on the floor, and lengthening your spine does more than change how you look. It changes the biochemical signals flowing to your brain, creating a literal platform for clearer thinking. Pair this with a single, slow breath, inhaling for a count of 4 and exhaling for a count of 6. This is not mystical, it is physiological, activating your body's natural relaxation response. The Stoic sage was not stiff or rigid, but settled and present, their physical calm a reflection of their mental discipline. You can practice this anywhere, in a tense meeting, while stuck in traffic, or waiting in a long line. The moment you feel agitation rising, pause for just 5 seconds. Relax your jaw, let your shoulders drop, and take one full, deliberate breath. You are not ignoring the problem, you are preparing your instrument to address it with precision instead of panic. So here is a small experiment. Set 3 random, gentle reminders on your phone for today. When each one chimes, let it be a prompt to perform a quick physical audit. Notice your posture. Are you slouching or bracing? Notice your breath. Is it shallow or held? Then, for just that moment, correct it. Sit or stand tall and take one deep, slow breath. This tiny, repeated act builds a new muscle memory, training your body to become a reliable anchor for your calm, a silent partner in your pursuit of Stoic resilience. Treat Stoic wisdom like daily mental nutrition, a small but essential part of your routine. This 20-second practice is about the consistent, mindful reading of Stoic texts, not as an academic chore, but as a form of mental training and a gentle realignment of your perspective. The goal is not to memorize philosophy, but to let its principles gradually rewire your thinking patterns, one passage at a time. Think of it as watering a plant. A single day's watering makes little visible difference, but consistent care over weeks and months yields deep roots and steady growth. In the same way, a daily dose of Stoic insight slowly strengthens the roots of your resilience, making calm thinking more automatic when challenges arise. This is different from studying for a test. It is a meditative practice, a quiet conversation with the wisest voices of the past, designed to bring you back to center before the day pulls you in every direction. The Stoics themselves were avid readers and writers, using texts as tools for self-guidance. Seneca wrote his letters as a form of daily instruction, and Marcus Aurelius composed his meditations as a personal handbook, a collection of reminders meant to be revisited constantly. Accessible entry points are everywhere. You could begin with a single page from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, a letter from Seneca's Letters from a Stoic, or a concise chapter from Epictetus's Enchiridion, which means handbook. The key is brevity and reflection, not volume. The aim is to absorb, not to consume. Practical integration makes this habit stick. You might set a daily quote as your phone's lock screen, so the first thing you see is a reminder of what you can control. You could keep a physical copy of Meditations on your nightstand, reading a single passage each morning before you rise or each evening before sleep. For a commute, a short podcast episode discussing a Stoic idea can turn travel time into reflection time. The medium matters less than the consistency of the engagement. So here is your reflective prompt for the coming week. Choose one short Stoic passage, just a sentence or two that resonates with you. Commit to reading it slowly each morning, not just with your eyes, but with your mind. After reading, sit with it for a full minute. Ask yourself, how does this apply to something I might face today? How can this perspective change my approach to a predictable challenge? This simple act of daily realignment is how you move philosophy from the page and into the pulse of your daily life, building a reservoir of calm you can draw from when you need it most. For the Stoics, being unkind was a form of irrationality. This is a powerful shift in perspective. Kindness is not merely a pleasant social grace or a moral luxury reserved for those we like. It is a fundamental duty that flows directly from our nature as social, interconnected beings. To act with cruelty, indifference, or injustice is to act against that very nature, and acting against nature in Stoic philosophy is the definition of irrationality. It creates a fracture within yourself, a discord between what you are designed to be and how you are choosing to act. This internal conflict is a direct thief of your own peace. Marcus Aurelius returned to this idea again and again in his private writings, reminding himself to treat even the most difficult person with kindness, for they are misguided about what is good. He saw their harmful actions not as a personal attack, but as a symptom of their own confusion, a wrong judgment about the world. To respond with matching anger would be to join them in that error. Your rational duty, then, is to meet that confusion with clarity and that harm whenever safely possible with a corrective kindness. This is not about being a pushover. It is about being strategically, wisely good. It is justice in action, recognizing that every person you meet is a fellow citizen of the same world, deserving of basic human respect by virtue of your shared existence. When you frame kindness this way, as a logical expression of your interconnectedness, it becomes a practice of self-alignment. You are smoothing your own inner workings by acting in harmony with your social design. The reward is not external approval, but the internal coherence and quiet dignity that comes from living according to your rational principles. So what does this look like as a daily practice? It means performing small, deliberate acts of kindness with zero expectation of reward, thanks, or even recognition. It is an exercise in pure virtue. It could be letting a car merge into your lane during a busy commute without any gesture of frustration. It might be sending a supportive message to a colleague who is struggling, not because you are close friends, but because you recognize their shared humanity. It could be picking up a piece of litter in a park, not for praise, but as a duty to the shared space of your community. In each case, you are not doing it to feel good, though that often follows. You are doing it because it is the rational, fitting thing for a social creature to do. It is how you maintain the health of the whole body to which you belong. Here is a simple reflective prompt to make this active. Today, perform one anonymous or deliberately unthanked act of kindness. It must be something for which you expect and will receive no credit. Hold a door for someone behind you and walk away without looking back. Leave a larger than necessary tip for a server with a note of thanks and then leave. Contribute quietly to a cause without telling anyone. After you do it, observe your own internal state. Do not look for a rush of happiness, but for a quieter signal, a subtle sense of integrity, of having acted in accordance with your nature. This is the calm that comes from duty fulfilled, a peace built not on how the world treats you, but on how you choose to move through it. What are you most afraid of happening? Let's go there stoically. This 24th practice is a deeper, more courageous form of the premeditation we began with. It moves beyond simply anticipating a rough day to deliberately visualizing the absolute worst-case scenario, not to terrify yourself, but to disarm fear by proving to your own mind that you could endure it. This is not anxiety-inducing worry, which is a passive spiral of dread. This is an active, rational rehearsal for resilience. You walk through the feared event step by step, planning a virtuous response at each stage, and in doing so, you drain the unknown of its paralyzing power. The philosopher Seneca was a master of this. He wrote extensively about preparing the mind for exile, poverty, or the end of life. He did not shy away from these thoughts. He engaged with them directly, writing, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." By mentally experiencing the loss of status, possessions, or even life itself, he realized a profound truth that our essential self, our character and reason, remains intact. He practiced saying to fortune, "You are only dealing with the things I always knew could be taken away." This visualization builds a quiet, unshakable confidence, a knowledge that you have already survived the catastrophe in your mind, and therefore you can face its shadow in reality. Consider a common modern fear, the anxiety of failing catastrophically during an important public speech. The untrained mind might just repeat, "Don't mess up," which only amplifies the fear. The Stoic practice is to sit down and vividly imagine the worst case. You picture yourself stumbling over your words, your mind going blank, hearing a few quiet coughs from the audience, perhaps even someone walking out. You feel the heat of embarrassment. Now, here is the crucial shift. You do not stop there. You continue the narrative. You see yourself pausing, taking a deliberate breath, finding your notes, and saying with calm honesty, "It seems I've lost my place for a moment. Please bear with me." You imagine continuing, perhaps not perfectly, but with composure. You picture the speech ending and you walking off the stage. The world has not ended. You are still you, by walking all the way through the nightmare and scripting a response rooted in courage and self-control. You transform a monster of the unknown into a manageable, if difficult, series of moments. The same process applies to the fear of job loss. The worst-case visualization is not just losing the job. It is seeing the termination meeting, feeling the initial shock, then picturing the practical steps, updating your resume, reaching out to your network, carefully managing finances, and viewing the period that follows as an opportunity for reflection and redirection. You prove to yourself that you have the resourcefulness to cope. So here is your reflective prompt. Take a current fear, big or small. Briefly write down the headline of that worst-case scenario. Then, directly beneath it, write down one specific Stoic virtue you would consciously rely on to navigate it. For the speech, it might be courage. For a health concern, it might be acceptance. For a relational conflict, it might be justice or patience. This simple act of naming the fear and pairing it with your inherent strength does not make the challenge disappear. It does something far more powerful. It reminds you that you possess within you the tools to meet it, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a human being capable of dignified resilience. The past is a cancelled check. The Stoics advised tearing it up. This final practice is about a specific kind of mental housekeeping, the deliberate act of releasing the heavy weight of past mistakes, misfortunes, and regrets that we insist on carrying into our present moments. It is the understanding that while we can and should learn from what has happened, we cannot change a single moment of it. To fixate on it, to replay it in our minds with a sense of guilt, shame, or longing, is to spend our precious present energy on something that exists only as a memory, a story we keep retelling ourselves. It is, as the Stoics would see it, profoundly irrational. It is an attempt to control the uncontrollable, and in doing so, we surrender control of the only thing we ever truly have, the now. Marcus Aurelius offered a constant, gentle reminder of this truth in his private writings. He would tell himself that the past is gone and the future is uncertain. You do not own yesterday, and tomorrow is not promised. All you possess is this fleeting, immediate moment. To clutter it with ghosts is to waste the one real resource you have for living virtuously. This practice is not about erasing history or denying the impact of past events. It is about drawing a clear, functional line between productive reflection and debilitating rumination. The evening review we discussed earlier is a perfect example of productive reflection. It is a brief, structured look at the day to extract a lesson and then let the event itself go. Unproductive rumination is different. It is the mental loop that plays on repeat, the what if and if only that offers no new insight, only a repetitive ache. It steals the vitality from your current actions because your mind is partially living in a time that no longer exists. Consider a practical example. Imagine you made a significant error at work 6 months ago, one that caused a project delay. Productive reflection happened when you analyzed the mistake, understood the flawed assumption, and implemented a new checklist to prevent it. That is the lesson, the extracted value. Unproductive rumination is what happens months later when you are about to start a new project and the old anxiety surges back, accompanied by the thought, what if I mess up again just like before? You are no longer learning from the past, you are being haunted by it. The Stoic practice of letting go is the conscious decision, after the lesson is learned, to forgive yourself and release the emotional artifact. You acknowledge the human error, you appreciate the growth it spurred, and then you mentally file it away as a completed chapter. You tear up that cancelled check because its value has been spent, and clinging to the paper serves no rational purpose. So here is a reflective prompt to close this exploration of 25 practices. Identify one past event, a mistake or a disappointment that you find yourself mentally revisiting more often than is useful. It might be a misspoken word, a missed opportunity, or a personal failure. First, with gentle honesty, acknowledge the lesson it taught you. What did you learn about yourself, about others, or about the world? Write that lesson down in one clear sentence. Now take a deep breath and make a conscious decision. You have received the value. The event itself is over. It is outside your control. Decide right now to release your mental grip on it. You might even visualize placing that old story into a box and setting it adrift on a river, or simply mentally stating, I have learned from this and I choose to focus on what I can do today. This act of release is not an erasure of history, but a declaration of freedom. It is you reclaiming your present energy from a ghost, so you can pour all of it into the only moment where your life is actually lived, and where your calm, clear thinking can truly make a difference. These 25 practices are not a checklist, but a living map for a quieter mind. They form 3 distinct paths you can walk each day. The first path is mastering perception, learning to see events as they truly are, not as your fears or hopes paint them. This includes the morning premeditation, the evening review, the crucial filter of the dichotomy of control, and the liberating power of objective description. The second path is directing action wisely, where you channel that clear perception into purposeful effort. This is where you practice voluntary discomfort, use the reserve clause in your goals, consult your inner sage, and focus only on the immediate next step. The third and final path is cultivating acceptance and resilience, building an unshakable foundation within. This encompasses the love of fate, the remembrance of mortality, the discipline of assent, the rejection of complaint, and the profound kindness that comes from recognizing our shared humanity. Together, they reveal a single, powerful truth. Calm thinking is not a personality trait you are born with or without. It is a skill built repetition by repetition in the gym of daily life. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered a perfect summation of this entire journey. He said, "Freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of what you desire, but by the removal of desire." Or, as he put it another way, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. After this point, you will find serenity by focusing only on what is yours to direct: your judgments, your efforts, your character. The noise of the world will continue, but it will no longer dictate the weather inside you. Your task now is not to attempt all 25 practices at once. That would be like trying to lift every weight in the gym on your first day. Choose just one or perhaps two that resonated most deeply with you. Commit to weaving that single thread into the fabric of your next week. Make it your personal experiment in calm. Did the view from above change your perspective on a problem? Did a moment of purchased silence prevent a needless conflict? Share your discovery in the comments below. Let us know which practice you are taking with you and what you learn along the way. This is how a philosophy becomes a lived experience, not in isolated thought, but in shared practice. If you found this guide useful, consider subscribing. Together, we can continue building lives of greater resilience, purpose, and quiet strength.